Hello, I'm Anthony from Everest Transformation. Today we'll be interviewing Mr. Emanuel Comino, Order of Australia. Mr. Comino has received the Order of Australia twice for his services to the community, is an acclaimed businessman, and is also the head of the Australian branch of the restitution for the Parthenon Marbles in Athens, Greece. Mr. Comino, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure. Thank you for coming and visiting me.
It's an absolute pleasure. Mr. Comino, can you please tell us about your earlier years?
Early years, well, I was born in Rockhampton, Queensland, and I was about 3 years old when my mother passed away, and then Dad decided to go back to Greece for a short holiday. But unfortunately it was a long holiday because the outbreak of the Second World War came, and we were stuck in Greece right from the war. And we didn't come back till about we left in the end of 46, we got back in 1947, went back to Queensland, out to Rockhampton, and worked in cafes and milk bars. Then we came down to Sydney. When I came to Sydney, at the end of 1956, I was married in January 1957, and have 2 sons and 6 grandchildren at the moment. And at the moment, you're sitting in my office, I'm an insurance broker, and I'm 77 years old.
Mr. Comino, tell us a little bit about the war years.
The war years was very tough for everybody. It was a bit tougher for us because we were tourists there. My dad came out to Australia when he was 11 years of age, and all the family came out here. And we hardly had a house to stay in. We had to go from house to house to live with relatives. And of course they didn't have it easy either. Everybody went through hard times. I remember very well 3 things. We were very hungry, and we were very cold in the winter. My fingers were bleeding and my feet from chilblains. And we were frightened because kids used to tease you, that I'm going to adopt you into the Germans or the Italians or even to the Adapters later, because we were British subjects. And of course we were in danger at all times from the enemy. At the time the Germans and the Italians were our enemy, whether we like it or not. And we were British subjects. And it wasn't easy, I can assure you.
How have the experiences that you've just mentioned impacted on who you are today?
Well, it makes you appreciate life a lot more when you go through hard times as a young kid. A lot of young children here that are born and grow up in families, established families, I don't wish them to go through what we went through and what the people during the war went through, especially in Germany. We don't have to go through the Holocaust because that was very extremely bad things what happened. And we like to forget that, but unfortunately it's still there in your mind, you just can't forget it. And when I came back, it took me a long time to get rid of the fears, the horror, let's put it this way. When I say horror, the bad times. And one time there, I didn't want to have anything to do with Greece. I said to myself, I'm never ever going to leave Australia. I didn't want anything to do with Greece or Greek history or anything. When I was in the Air Force, serving in the Royal Australian Air Force, one night at a special officers' night, the man next to me was sitting with an air commodore from England, and he said to me, Comino, you're Greek and your name should be Kominos with an S at the end. And I said to him, no, I was born here, my father came out here very young, and my mum, I'm an Australian, not Greek. And he said to me, no, my boy, you're Greek and you want to be proud that you're Greek because the world owes so much to Greece and to Greek history. Then he started telling me about one thing and another, about the Parthenon, about Socrates and the democracy had started, Olympic Games and everything, which all this was new to me in a way. And from that moment it changed my thoughts about being Greek or having anything to do with Greece. And of course when I came to Sydney and married, I started getting involved in the Greek community with the AHAPA and with the church, and of course I learned a lot more than what I knew with Greeks and Greek history.
And you also went into the insurance business.
Yes, that was by accident really. After I got out of the milk bar I had out in Guildford, went to pay my life insurance policy, and the man that sold it to me happened to be there, and he says, what are you doing here, Emanuel? I said, oh, I'm going to pay my insurance policy that you sold me. And he said, well, how's the shop's going? I said, I sold the shop. I said, what are you going to do now? Oh, I'll probably buy another shop. He said, don't be silly, you're not for shop, you come and work in here with us in the insurance. And that's how I started. From there I just kept on growing, and then I became an insurance broker. And now my sons run the business because everything's on computer. And I'm not going to learn computer, only just to play solitaire and go fishing.
What do you believe have been some of the highlights of your success?
You know, I was very proud that I joined the Order of a HEPA, and I served the HEPA as Supreme President, which is the national president throughout Australia, and I formed the Order in New Zealand. That involved a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort. They travelled throughout Australia and overseas. And of course the forming of the first committee in the world for the return to Greece of the Parthenon Marbles, otherwise known as the Elgin Marbles. But now they're known internationally as the Parthenon Marbles. And I went to New Zealand and I formed the committee there in the year 2000. The first committee was formed in 1981. My committee was the very first in the world. And at that time, nobody wanted to talk about Parthenon Marbles or the Elgin Marbles as they were then known. And everybody used to laugh at me. They say, oh, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, you're silly, you're an idiot. And I used to get all kinds of things. But when it progressed, and I went to New Zealand, I formed the committee, and after going there every year, and the man I appointed president there, Gerald O'Brien, he was a former minister of the government. And we used to go together, he used to take me to the parliament lunchtime and lobby the New Zealand politicians. And I'm very proud to say that in May 2007, the New Zealand Parliament passed unanimously to support the return to Greece of the Parthenon Marbles. Now that's a big achievement. I'm very, very proud of that, because it cost me a lot of money travelling backwards and forwards out of my own pocket. All expenses come out of my own pocket. I even went into The Hague when I was invited in The Hague to speak on the marbles. Actually, it was the 7th international law seminar entitled Resolution of Cultural Property Dispute. So I rang them, I said, if I'm going to come all the way to The Hague, out of my own personal expense, am I allowed to say a few words on the Parthenon Marbles? And the General Secretary, Mr. Vanderhert, he said, during the day there's 4 half-an-hour open discussions, and during this time you can bring it up. So I did. And I said that Lord Elgin's takings of the world's greatest single collection of classical Greek sculptures is probably the world's most celebrated cultural property dispute. It was an opportunity for me to bring it up, and I got a tremendous reception afterwards at coffee breaks from many people. There was a lady there from the British government, and she said to me, you tell your minister, Professor Venizelos at the time in Greece, to be more cooperate and more understanding, and how dare he comes to London to launch the New Acropolis Museum opposite the British Museum, how degrading for the British Museum, words to that effect. When she finished, I stand there smiling and laughing at her. I said to her, excuse me madam, he is not my minister, I'm an Australian. That rocked her. I said, and after all the man wants something that belongs to the Parthenon. And the Parthenon happens to be in Athens and not in the British Museum. That stopped there. The man jumps in and says to me, sir, I'm in favour to see the marbles to go back up on the Parthenon where they were taken. But I'm not in favour to see them go from one museum to another museum. So I said to him, do you know the enormous amount of damage caused to the building and to the sculptures in the way of them taken out, and of course irreparable damage to the building and to the sculpture themselves. So there's no way they can go back up there.
What do the Parthenon Marbles mean to you personally?
Well, it's part of Greek history. It's in our blood. As Melina Mercouri put it, it's the body and soul of the Greek nation, of the Greek people. When we speak about the Parthenon and the sculptures, we're not speaking about an ordinary building. The Parthenon at Doric Temple is the architectural wonder of the world. No other building on earth has ever equaled its beauty, symmetry and symbolism. It is a supreme achievement of beauty in all recorded history. The Parthenon is a superb creation of the Greek mind. We must never forget that. And those sculptures are an integral part of that Parthenon building in Athens. And they must be returned to the New Acropolis Museum, where it's building a magnificent museum, because the British government have been telling us, and the British Museum over the years, that we have nowhere to put them, and that the pollution will eat them up, and that they're looking to preserve them, and all these excuses. Now they have no excuse whatsoever. They must go back to the place where they rightfully belong, to Greece, to the Greek people. When the Parthenon was built for Athens and not for the British Museum.
What do you believe will be the final outcome?
One day they will definitely go back. Don't ask me when, because nobody knows when they're going to go back, but I know this much. This issue is never ever is going to go away.
What advice would you give to anybody that's fighting for a cause?
Oh, if anybody's fighting for something they believe in and it's justice, by all means go ahead and fight for it, as long as it's a just cause. I don't believe in going to cause riots and problems and fighting, as I was told on numerous occasions, to go to London and wave banners and all that stuff outside the British Museum. I don't believe in that. I believe in doing it with a pen, with a nice way, in a gentleman way, rather than in the rough way. If you can work with people and respect and love people, you'll succeed far better than going ugly way.
What advice would you give to anybody watching right now about becoming a success?
Work hard. Don't be afraid to take a little gamble. Don't be too gambler. Don't take big risks. But if you put your mind into something, work hard at it. If you're not a success, if you're not doing well in the business that you're in or at the work that you do, leave it. Start something else. If you're losing money at a job, take your losses and get out and go somewhere else. Do something else. Something that you think that you can do better. Always look to go forward and do better than what you've been doing. That's my advice to any young man, and don't be afraid to work. Work will get you there, and study hard. While you're young, it's always good to study hard. Learn something, to have something in the background.
Mr. Comino, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I hope you enjoyed it and your listeners will enjoy it.
I too loved it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nasa ka lang.